The great Wali, Shaykh Yusuf Motala rahimahullah, told by Wise Wali. Salam, my dear friends. It's me, Wise Wali. Today, I want to tell you about a special teacher of teachers, a Wali who brought light to England, to Europe. His name was Shaykh Yusuf Motala. Are you ready? Let's begin. And guess what? He lived just a stone's throw away from our own Madrasa Wali. Imagine that. A great Wali walked the same streets as us. Wali Shaykh Yusuf Motala was born in India, in a small village called Nani Naroli. But even as a child, he was different. He loved the Quran, he loved knowledge, and he loved Allah. One day, his father took him to a great scholar and said, "Make dua that my son becomes a scholar." Do you know what the Sheikh said? Not just a scholar, but a great scholar. And that's exactly what happened. As a young boy, Wali Yusuf left his home to study Deen. It wasn't easy. He walked 4 miles, sometimes with little food, but he never complained. His heart was full of love for knowledge. Then came the greatest moment of his life. He became a student of the great Sheikh Maulana Zakaria rahimahullah. Imagine studying hadith from one of the greatest scholars of the time. And Sheikh Zakaria rahimahullah saw something special in him. He once told him, "Yusuf, you will take this knowledge to the lands of the West." Subhanallah, the great Sheikh already knew what was to come. Wali Yusuf Motala rahimahullah travelled all the way to Britain, where Islam was weak and the scholars were few. Imagine arriving in a land where there were hardly any madrasas, no Darul Ulums, and very few people learning Deen. Would he give up? No. Instead, he made a decision that would change history. In 1973, he founded Darul Ulum Bury, the first of its kind in the UK. But my dear friends, it wasn't easy. People said, "It won't work." They said, "You won't find students." They said, "How will you run a big madrasa in England?" But Wali Yusuf Motala trusted Allah. And do you know what happened? Thousands of students came, not just from Britain, but from all over the world. Do you know what's even more amazing? Your teachers at madrasa, or your teachers' teachers, many of them studied at his Darul Ulum. Did you know that since then, lots of other Darul Ulums and big madrasas have been set up? You can find them in places like Dewsbury, London, Leicester, Bradford, Lancaster, Bolton, Preston, and many right here in Blackburn too. Wali Yusuf Motala wasn't just a scholar, he was a man of love. He loved Medina so much that he once said, "I have always wished to be buried in Medina, but if not, then at least I should be buried near my students." He loved the Ahlul Bayt, the family of the greatest Wali of all time, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, so much that he would cry whenever their names were mentioned. And guess what? He loved his students like his own children. Once, a student was struggling with his studies. Others made fun of him. But do you know what the Sheikh did? He called the student, patted his head, and said, "Knowledge is not in books, it is in the heart. Purify your heart and Allah will fill it with knowledge. And that student, he became a great scholar. Wali Yusuf Motala spent his whole life in the service of Islam. Even in his final years, he never stopped reading, writing, and spreading knowledge. He passed away in 2019 during his travel to Canada, and thousands of people attended his janazah there. His students wept, his family wept, the whole world wept. But do you know what? His legacy lives on. Oh, my dear Wali, here are 3 lessons we learn from Wali Shaykh Yusuf Motala rahimahullah. Number 1, sacrifice for deen. Wali Yusuf Motala came to a different land, far away from his home, to spread Islam. What can we do for deen? Number 2, love knowledge. Wali Yusuf never stopped learning, teaching, and writing. Can we promise to love knowledge too? Number 3, have a heart full of love. Wali Yusuf treated his students like family. Can we be kind and loving to others? May Allah make us hardworking, inspirational, and loving, just like Wali Shaykh Yusuf Motala rahimahullah. Ameen.